Hi friends, this is Caitlin. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be coloring in this really cute digital scene that I created with some brand new digis from Sweet November Stamps that's out today. This little fairy is from a new digi set called A Fairy Cute Day. I'll have it linked down below. And I also added in some digital roses and leaves from a previous release. I love creating these zoomed in garden type scenes, and I just thought she was the perfect addition to this little garden. I do have another video from a couple years ago showing how I layer my digis into Adobe Express to make my scenes. So I'll leave that linked down below as well and insert a card here if you want to see that part of the process. But otherwise, I get all of my digis ready in Adobe Express. Like I said, I layer them up and size them up. And then I save that as a PNG. I put it into a Word doc and I print it. I use a Canon Pixma. Pixma. I'll put that down below too. I have to go look. And I have no complaints. I got it a couple years ago. She's still going strong. I don't have any issue with any kind of bleeding or my colors running. I love it. So with my little fairy, I decided to go for my kind of standard Caucasian skin tone. So we're going in with E04 for our shadow layer, then E13 and E11. Normally I would bring in some E00, but this one really didn't need it. And I wanted to give her a pretty strong blush. So we brought in some R20 and then blended that out with the R11 again. I put a lot of the shadow focused under her bangs around her face. And then I decided to make her legs also skin tone versus, tights, but you could do whatever suits your needs. And I added a little bit of skin tone, just the lighter shades on her arms where those straps are, so that when we go over with our lighter purples later on, it kind of gives that illusion of like sheer fabric. So for her dress, I decided to go in with some V20 markers. These aren't my usual first choice of purple, but I wanted her to feel like a Valentine's card without actually having, Valentine written anywhere on it. And so I wanted the colors to be a little more soft and romantic versus really bright and springy. But I love these fairies because they could literally be any time of year, right? Depending on how you colored her. If you made her flowers in her hair look more like poinsettias or something color-wise, even roses, you could totally make her a winter fairy too. She could be whatever you wanted. But to kind of pink everything up just a little bit more because these purples are so gray, I did go in and glaze everything with a V01, which just has the softest little hint of pink to it. And I thought that it was perfect. Just enough pink to tie it in with the roses that we're going to do at the end. So I colored in her little roses in her hair to match her dress. And then for her wings, I decided to go teal. Teal is kind of my go-to fairy wing color. You could also obviously color the wings whatever suits your needs, but I really love going in with just a tiny bit of BG23 and then blending that out with BG11 and using a little bit of BG10 just right on the edges. It gives just a soft look, but I think that it ties in to that kind of fairy ethereal feeling really well. I decided to go with like a dirty blonde kind of hair. Fairies are mythical, and so they can have any color hair. If you want to do, I saw an inspiration post from Sweet November Stamps and her hair was pink and it was very cute. But I decided to go with a dirty blonde. And so my combo choice for that is my E40s. So I'm starting out with 47, focusing on the root and then also on the areas where the artist drawn lines already are, kind of thickening those up. I also like to add little flicks of color coming from the bottom up. I think it gives a nice dimension and just starts to break up all of that white space. Then I went in with E44 to thicken up those areas and just kind of layering over that first 47 color, still making sure that I'm leaving white paper visible so that when we go in with our highlight, it shows up. These markers can eat up space really quickly, especially depending on the size of your character, which is one of the things that I love most about using digis, because you can have them be teeny, teeny, tiny, or you could have this completely zoomed in where you just see like from her waist up. And you don't have to even worry about any other part of a scene, all depending on the look you're going for and what you are looking to color. I am on the Sweet November Stamps design team, but just throwing it out there, I was not asked to make this video. This isn't like a sponsored ad. I just really loved this digi. In fact, I am now technically only on the clear stamps design team. I don't usually do the digi releases anymore. Timing has not worked out great for me. But I loved this specific one so much that I asked them to send it to me so that I could create with her, because it's been a minute since I've used digis and I genuinely love this stamp set. So for my greens, with the whole soft romantic kind of mood in mind, I tried to make them look a little more subdued. I didn't want them to be super dark, like true green or pine green dark. And I also didn't want them to be super aggressive and in your face, like YGs, right? Like super spring green. That was not the vibe. So I did a weird combination for these, but I really like how they turned out. I went in with G99 to start for my shadows and along the main like veins of the leaf. And then I went in with G46, which has like a lot more gray and almost like a teal to it. And then G43 kind of tied those two together, because 99 and 46 do not look like they should go together. But with the 43 on top of all of them, almost like glazing and highlighting, it kind of marries the color tones together. And I really like how this turned out. So this was very repetitive. I did the same shading for all of them. I'm adding the darkest color, like I said, to the veining of the leaves, and then where anything covers another thing, it gets a shadow. And that's going to be true for these rose petals as well. So anything tucked towards the center of the flower, right? So the bottom of each petal where it's connected to the rest of the flower, that's going to get a shadow. And then anywhere where one item is overlapping another. So I'm starting with my R89, right? And at the base basically of each petal. Then I'm pulling that color out with R56. Then we're going R85, R83, and R81 if there's room. So that's the same color combination for every single petal for both of these flowers. It is a lot of colors, right? Usually I do a 3-color blend. This is a 5-color blend on some of these petals. But because I zoomed them in so much, there is a good bit of space. And not every petal is getting all 5, right? For some of these where the petal is like curled over on itself and there's smaller space to work with, I'm not going to force it. I'd rather not flood out my paper. So the trick when you're working with the petals that are folded over, I like to add a thinner bit of shadow where at the base of the petal, like always, but also under the part that's folded over. And then I like to add some lines and some shading to that flipped part as well, just to start breaking up some of that color. Right, so you can see I'm pulling that shading down. The whole thing wouldn't just be highlighted because it's curved in to the center of the petal as well. And for the bigger petals that are folded over that we're going to do next, those are even more, right? They're like even another level of amount that's flipped. So that's when I'm going to bring in these extra little squiggles that you see there. I'm just following the line of the petal, but adding in some shading to break up that space because I want to be able to give more shadow there. And then the same thing, I'm working 2 or 3 petals at a time, maybe 4 petals at a time, depending on how quickly I think I'm working through everything. And just, again, very repetitive, adding my shadows to the bottom and then blending everything out from there. I do want to say my last couple of videos have gotten so much love, so thank you so much. I feel like this year is going to be a really big year for me. I'm very excited. And YouTube informed me today that I hit 10,000 watch hours like in the lifetime of my channel, which is just absolutely insane to me that people have watched my videos for 10,000 hours. That's crazy. So if you have been along for this journey for a while, or if this is your first video of mine that you're catching, thank you for being here. I literally couldn't do this without you. So yeah. I included this second rose. These are the exact same rose, just tilted at different angles. There are more roses in the Digi, I think it's Rose and Gerber Daisies set. It might be dahlias. I don't remember. It's roses and something else. They're background like scene builders. I did just use the same one though to keep it nice and easy on myself. But I left this one in because I'm adding extra shadow under her feet that I didn't obviously do on the other one because there wouldn't be a shadow there. So it just is the same steps, but that extra little part is shaped different so that the shadow falls under her feet. And I'm also going to go in with gray to really emphasize that shadow, some dark sea cool gray markers, and then kind of blend those back into everything else with my R89. I decided to break up the texture on the dress by stippling in some little dots right around the pleats of her skirt. This kind of gave me a little bit of like a lily vibe, or like, I don't know, some kind of speckled petal. I really liked it. And then I went in with white gel pen for eye highlights and added dots to the dress in the same areas as that dark purple stippling as well. So it also kind of gives it a glittery or shimmery effect without having to use actual glitter. Then I went in with some stitched A2 like sized stacks dies. These ones are from My Favorite Things, and I cut out my scene. I always go into this knowing that I'm going to be trimming some of my scene away. If that bothers you, you can make sure that your measurements are more exact than mine when you're making your Word doc or however you choose to print out your digis. And then because I didn't have the perfect dark maroon color as like a mini matte on my card, I just took white cardstock and my R89, and I am just filling in those edges to make myself a little tiny frame that's going to just give us a nice border and literal frame around our scene before it goes onto our pattern paper. And the pattern paper I thought was just perfect because it's that same soft kind of rosy pink. I decided, because everything else was pink, to stamp my sentiment with a Dusty Concord, which matches the purples I used in the dress pretty well. And I'm adding everything to my panel with my Tombow mono adhesive. Love it. Wouldn't leave home without it. And that is my whole little scene coming together. So this is your close-up view. I loved coloring in this scene. I love digis because you don't have to mask anything. So if you want more information on that, or you want to go check them out, please check out those links below. I hope that you are having an amazing day. I will see you back here soon with more coloring inspiration and card making inspiration. Until next time, guys, happy crafting.